Discover the incredible life-changing moment when a billionaire saved a single mom at 2 a.m. Sarah had grown to love the quiet hum of the diner, the way the neon lights flickered as they cast a warm glow on her face. But tonight, after a long, grueling shift, a different hum filled her ears, the impending silence of her dying car. "Not now, please," she whispered, gripping the steering wheel tight, as the engine sputtered and finally gave up. The moon hung high above, a stark reminder of how distant endless city lights felt from her small world. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma said, her voice trembling in the back seat. Noah, only 3, whimpered softly. Crickets chirped as if mocking her, and fear crept into her heart, heavy like the bills piling on her kitchen table. She had fought so hard to keep her family afloat, but nights like this made her question everything. Then, like an answered prayer, a sleek black car pulled over, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Out stepped Jack. His tailored suit and confident stride seemed out of place, like a character from a movie. Sarah's instinct was to retreat, but what choice did she have? "Need a hand?" he asked, his voice smooth yet genuine. Caution washed over her, but desperation tugged harder. "I'll manage," she replied, trying to keep her pride intact. "It's okay to accept help," he said, approaching her car. She hesitated but finally gave in, nodding. As they worked together in the cool night air, the exchange between them became a fragile thread. Sarah told him about the sleepless nights juggling 2 jobs. "I just want Emma and Noah to have chances I never had," she admitted, tears pricking her eyes. "I'm doing it all for them." Jack shared his own tale, revealing a complicated life decorated by wealth yet filled with profound loneliness. Just then, a passerby recognized Jack, eyes widening. "What's a billionaire like you doing here?" he scoffed, glancing back at Sarah with disdain. "You're wasting your time, man." It struck fear into Sarah's heart. What would people think? The judgment felt like an anchor dragging her down. Misunderstandings began to swirl like a storm around them. A simple touch from Jack meant to reassure her was misread as something else, igniting Sarah's flames of distrust. With each moment, the barrier between them grew higher. She felt betrayed, unworthy of his kindness, while Jack faced ridicule from those who saw only wealth. In that charged atmosphere, the vulnerability they shared began to shatter, leaving behind desolation. Each had built walls high enough to block out understanding. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." In the stillness, tension hung thick in the air, waiting for someone to break it. Would they allow their past experiences to dictate their path forward? Could a single moment of connection bridge their divide? With uncertainty swirling between them like shadows, Sarah's heart raced. The night had become an emotional battlefield, and they stood on the precipice of change. What would happen next? As they faced their fears under the watchful gaze of stars long hidden, the question lingered: could they redefine themselves and carve out a different reality? The silence stretched like taffy, refusing to snap. Sarah's breath quickened, her heart pounding in her chest. Jack stood a few feet away, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. It was as if the universe had cornered them both, pushing them into a moment that could either trap or free them. "Look," he said softly, his tone cutting through the tension. "I know how this looks. I'm not here to interfere. I want to help." The sincerity in his voice tugged at something deep inside Sarah, something she had buried beneath layers of hurt and doubt. But the words she longed to hear felt tangled in the confusion of her own emotions. Could she really trust him? Emma shifted anxiously, her small hands clasped and knuckled white. "Mommy, I want to go home," she whispered, echoing Sarah's own desire to flee the strange, complicated situation. "I know, sweetie," she replied, forcing a smile to mask her worry. "Just a little longer." Jack took a step closer, enough for her to feel the warmth radiating from him. "Let me try to start the car," he suggested, motioning toward the hood. "Why would you want to help me?" The question slipped out, raw and vulnerable. It wasn't just about the car, it was a plea for clarity, for assurance that there was still goodness in the world. He paused, a flicker of surprise crossing his face before he answered. "Because I see you trying. I see the weight you carry every day. Nobody deserves to feel alone in that." His words washed over her, tempting the dam holding back her fears. The true weight of her reality of days spent working doubles, the relentless anxiety of making ends meet, and the desperate hope she clung to pressed heavily on her. Laughter echoed in her mind from happier times, a distant memory now overshadowed by struggle. "All right," she relented. "Just, be careful." Jack's hands moved with deliberate intention as he lifted the hood and dug into the issue. For Sarah, watching him study the engine was oddly soothing. There was a gentle competence in his actions that had her feeling a little less frantic. She scooted closer, Emma peeking over her shoulder, Noah still half asleep, blissfully unaware of the weight of his mother's burdens. Minutes passed, and the hood slowly raised. It was here, under the blanket of the star-specked sky, that something shifted between them. She could see vulnerability not just in herself but in Jack too. "So, what do you want?" she asked, unable to contain her curiosity. "You could be anywhere, doing anything." Jack met her gaze with unwavering honesty. "I'm tired of the same old thing. I want to connect with people. Real people. My life feels like a simulation sometimes. Being here, in this moment, makes me feel alive." A moment of stillness drifted between them, one that felt almost electric. Could this man really understand her? She could feel walls beginning to crack, but the fear of being exposed loomed large. Just as he turned to say something else, ominous clouds rolled in from the horizon, dark and foreboding. Thunder rumbled distantly, causing Sarah's heart to leap into her throat. "Can you try again?" she urged Jack, desperation creeping back in. With renewed determination, Jack set to work. Sarah felt her mind racing. Was she truly willing to let him in? The storm brewed above, mirroring the tumult within her. Would she take a chance on him, on them? As Jack's resolve shone through the darkening night, she found herself at a crossroads, standing on the verge of hope. The moment hung in the air, suspended between possibility and doubt. And then, without warning, the first raindrop plopped onto her cheek, a single drop that felt like a promise or perhaps a warning. What would happen next? The rain began as a gentle patter, soon escalating into a steady drumming, matching the thrumming in Sarah's chest. Each drop felt like a heartbeat, echoing the dance of fear and hope within her. Emma pressed closer to Sarah, seeking refuge, while Noah stirred awake, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Mommy?" he mumbled, voice thick with drowsiness. "Why are we outside?" "Just a little car trouble, sweetheart," Sarah reassured him, her voice soft but strained. She was keenly aware that this small moment could spiral into something either frightening or transformative. The storm seemed to hold its breath as Jack continued to work, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a thread of anticipation weaving through her turmoil. Jack's focus remained steady, hands deftly maneuvering through the darkness. With each click and twist of a wrench, he seemed to draw the shadows of doubt away from her, if only for a moment. "Maybe I should call someone," she said hesitantly, the thought of inviting external chaos creeping back in. "No," he replied firmly, yet kind. "Just give me a sec." His confidence momentarily pushed aside her worries. She wanted to believe he could pull them through this moment, that he might be a lifeline in the storm. Then, with a sudden jolt of excitement, Jack emitted a small cheer. Got it!" he exclaimed, stepping back to let the engine settle before starting. "Why don't you give it a try?" Sarah felt the weight of his gaze, the earnest hope swirling in the air between them. She turned to the car, her fingers trembling as she reached for the key. She paused for a moment, taking a deep breath to still the raging storm within. Would this work? Would everything begin to change? With a click, she twisted the key and the engine sputtered to life, a raw growl that quickly smoothed into a steady purr. Relief washed over her, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes, tinged with gratitude and disbelief. Emma erupted into a cheer, "Yay! We're moving!" As the sound of rain played its symphony against the hood, Sarah turned to Jack, her heart swelling. In the warmth of that moment, she felt emboldened, as if all the heavy chains she had worn for so long might be slipping away. Jack stepped closer, a smile breaking across his face, lighting up the dim night. "That was amazing," he said, his voice filled with genuine excitement. "You did it." She couldn't help but return his smile, a flicker of hope igniting within. In that space between them, something profound shifted. It was as if they had carved out a little sanctuary amidst the storm, a place where understanding and kindness could thrive. But then Sarah's smile faded as the unmistakable weight of reality loomed. This was just a moment, a fleeting glimmer in her intricate life filled with shadows. Could she truly allow this connection to deepen? A thought crashed against her, echoing like thunder above. The truth about her life wasn't just the car trouble, it was the fear of dragging someone into her chaos. Jack seemed to sense the change in her demeanor. "Hey," he said softly, searching her gaze, "whatever you're thinking is okay. You don't have to know, it's not that." She cut him off, panic rising. I have so much in my life. The kids, the bills, everything. We can face it together," he urged gently, stepping even closer, his presence a comforting weight. "You don't have to carry it all alone." His words settled like a warm blanket over her, igniting a fierce hope in her heart, but also dread. Could she really share her burdens? What did that even look like? As the rain poured down, Sarah's resolve began to crumble. She wanted to reach out, to cling to this fragile but powerful connection. But would she let herself be vulnerable, to accept help? The weight of the storm was heavy not just outside, but in her heart. She looked into Jack's eyes, searching for the answer to a question she didn't yet know how to ask. Just then, the sky split open with a flash of lightning, illuminating the moment. In that heartbeat of brilliance, Sarah saw her own reflection, raw, real, and so desperately ready for change. "Maybe," she started, her voice barely above a whisper as doubts clashed with daring. "Maybe we could look at this together." But before she could finish, another rumble of thunder echoed ominously, a reminder that storm clouds lingered just beyond the beacon of hope she was reaching for. Would this spark of connection defy the tempest waiting? And what would happen when the rain finally stopped? The rain continued its relentless assault, each droplet hammering the roof as if nature itself wanted to drown out the moment. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, both from exhilaration and fear. She had just voiced something deep and personal, and the reality of what lay ahead began to settle in. The storm raged around them, but there was something different in Jack's eyes now, a kind of warmth and determination. He stepped back, peering into her soul with an intensity that made her shiver. "What do you mean, together?" he asked, lowering his voice to a whisper. It was an invitation, not just to share her burdens, but perhaps to share a life, even if only for a moment. Sarah swallowed hard, the weight of his gaze pulling her deeper into the possibilities. "I mean, I can't do it all by myself," she finally admitted. Vulnerability washed over her like the rain, shocking and liberating. "I've been so afraid. Afraid I'll fail and drag everyone down with me." Jack took a step closer, reaching out and gently brushing a wet strand of hair behind her ear. "You're stronger than you think, Sarah. You've already fought through so much. But you're not alone in this. The sincerity in his voice melted some of the ice that had encased her heart. What if she could let him in? Her mind raced, flashing images of shared laughter and dreams. Emma and Noah smiling, perhaps with Jack joining in their chaos, their joy. But what about the reality of her life, her worries and fears? Could he really understand? Suddenly, Noah's small voice broke through the tension. "Mommy, can we go home now?" He squirmed in his seat, his tiredness palpable, and Sarah felt her heart drop. Reality always had a way of sneaking back in. She turned to her son, giving him a gentle smile. "We'll be home soon, buddy." The thought of being in a warm, dry place while the storm kept raging outside felt like a distant dream. Jack seemed to sense her rising tide of stress. "Let us get this car rolling. I'll help you get the kids settled." As he moved swiftly around the car, Sarah took a moment to steady her breath. The fear of letting Jack in was still there, but so was the flicker of hope. She had been on her own for far too long. She turned the key again, the engine purring in agreement. Jack's face broke into a triumphant grin, the moment sweetening with shared victory. "See? You're unstoppable." But even as the car eased out into the road, her heart churned with conflicting emotions. Jack's words lingered, whispering promises. What if she allowed this? What if she said yes to hope, to a connection? As they drove, the storm lessened, the rain shifting into a soft drizzle. The road ahead glimmered under the sporadic streetlights, each glow a fleeting reassurance. But just as soon as the tension began to ease, Sarah caught a glimpse of the smoke rising in the distance. It curled ominously against the dark sky like another storm brewing, another wave of potential chaos approaching. What now? Would this journey she was beginning with Jack lead to something beautiful, or merely another struggle? Suddenly, Sarah felt the gravity of that choice. Was she ready to face whatever was coming? As they drove into the unknown, every heartbeat thrumming with possibility, she knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same. Would the storm pass, or would it swell into something more? Questions tumbled through her mind as the tension thickened in the air. What awaited them both just beyond the horizon? The soft drizzle on the windshield gradually transformed into a steady rain again, blurring the world outside. Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty. She could see the stress etched on Jack's face as he glanced between her and the road. He seemed to sense her turmoil, and for a fleeting second, she wished she could simply be brave enough to let him in completely. "Jack," she said, almost hesitantly, "I don't want to burden you with my problems." He turned toward her, an earnest look settling in his eyes. "You're not a burden, Sarah. You're a mother doing her best. That's something worth standing beside." Noah shifted in his seat, finally breaking the lingering tension. "Is it gonna stop raining soon?" His voice was small, laced with fatigue and innocence. "Soon, buddy. Just a little bit longer," she reassured him, forcing a smile despite her growing anxiety. But the smoke still loomed in the distance, a reminder that trouble could strike at any moment, no matter how much she hoped for a peaceful evening. "Maybe I should turn around," she murmured, glancing back through the rearview mirror to take one last look at the smoke. It curled higher, a black cloud against the more sinister backdrop of the deepening night sky. "It doesn't look good." Jack's grip on the dashboard tightened slightly. "You don't have to go home. That smoke doesn't have to be our reality." His voice was steady, but Sarah could hear the urgency underneath. "Let us see it through. Whatever it is, we can handle it together." The sincerity in Jack's words ignited a flicker of courage within her. While fear still loomed over her, a small part of Sarah yearned to believe him. They pushed forward, navigating through the downpour, and Sarah finally allowed herself to imagine a future where she didn't have to shoulder her burdens alone. "Do you ever wonder what life would be like if we allowed ourselves to dream?" she asked, not sure if she was even asking Jack or just speaking her thoughts aloud. Jack raised an eyebrow, the corners of his mouth twitching into a smile at her unexpected question. Life is like the weather. Sometimes, it rains, but there's sunshine too. You just have to find the courage to face it all. And to look for the sunshine. As they got closer to the city, the smoky haze transformed into something more tangible, visible in stark contrast against the night. A fire blazed in the distance, lighting up the skyline. Sarah's stomach dropped. An ambulance and several fire trucks were gathered where the smoke billowed, and the sight sent panic spilling through her veins. It was hard to breathe as the sirens wailed louder, drowning out her own mounting fears. "Jack, they're going to need help," she whispered, almost to herself, feeling the instinct to be involved surging within her. Jack didn't hesitate. "Let us see what we can do. It's not too late." But Sarah hesitated. Could she really step into the chaos that awaited them? She wasn't the strong person Jack believed her to be. The thought of getting involved made her heart race for a different reason. What if we can't help? Her voice shook as doubt crept in again. Then we'll find a way to help someone else. But you won't know until we get there. He gave her a reassuring nod that somehow felt stronger than any words he could say. They pulled onto a side street, getting closer to where the emergency vehicles congregated. Sarah felt the weight of possibility pressing against her chest, mingled with fear. She glanced at Noah, who was starting to drift off, anxious for safety. "Okay," she whispered, breathing deep to quell the nerves. "Let us do this." As they neared the scene, a figure stumbled from the shadows, eyes wild and fear etched across their face. Sarah's heart skipped. "Wait! Don't go near there!" The stranger shouted, desperation spilling into their voice. In that moment, Sarah felt the distance between her fears and courage close in, merging into something almost tangible. The storm was far from over. But perhaps, in the heat of crisis, she would discover what strength really meant. What lay ahead was unknown, but it would test everything she thought she knew. Would she be brave enough to meet the challenge? The world erupted around them, filled with chaos and urgency. As the figure staggered closer, Sarah's instincts kicked in. It was clear they were not okay. The stranger's clothes were singed, and their eyes held a wild fear that sent chills down her spine. "Help, we need help." The voice was panicked, raw with emotion. Sarah caught Jack's eye as he shifted into action mode, ready to confront the chaos head-on. Noah stirred in the back seat, his eyes still heavy with sleep, but the urgency in the air jolted him awake. "Mom? What's happening?" "It's okay, buddy. Just stay here for a moment." "We'll be right back," she replied, her own voice gaining strength. She glanced over at Jack, who had already stepped out of the car, rain soaking him within seconds. "Stay close," he called back, his eyes locked onto the figure, who was now barely standing. Without thinking, Sarah exited the car too, her heart racing as adrenaline surged through her. She felt the rain on her skin, cold droplets mingling with warmth, her own heat rising in response to the unfolding emergency. "What kind of help do you need?" Jack was asking, his tone steady as he crouched down to get a closer look at the stranger. There's a family trapped in their house. Flames everywhere." Their words came out in gasps, each one a plea, and Sarah could see the panic painting the stranger's features even more vividly. The urgency of the situation crashed into her like waves, drowning out her previous fears. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a crescendo of determination rising as she absorbed what was happening. Jack looked back at her, eyes encouraging. "We can help, right?" "Right," she breathed, realizing her hands were clenched into fists. She took a step towards the chaos that beckoned them. "Let us figure this out together." "Mom, please, can we go home?" Noah's voice trembled from the car, the innocent plea shaking her resolve. She wanted to protect him, to shield him from danger, yet she also recognized an opportunity to teach him something about bravery. "Just for a little while, Noah. We'll be back before you know it," she reassured him. As the weight of her promise settled over her, the flicker of fear in his eyes began to soften. Jack pointed towards the gathering crowd, where a few fire crew members were being briefed. "Let us go. They need as many hands as they can get." Without thinking twice, she ran with Jack, side by side. Each step pulsed with fear, but beneath it all was a burning desire to make a difference. A small fire truck flashed past them, its sirens echoing even through the rain. One of the firefighters waved them over. "Are you trained?" "Not exactly," Jack admitted sheepishly. "But we can help however we can." The firefighter nodded, urgency sparking in his eyes. "We need people to help evacuate the neighborhood. Some folks are too scared to leave. Just direct them away from the fire." Sarah's heart raced as the enormity of it all hit her. This was real. She was standing here, amidst all this turmoil. But deep down, a reservoir of courage was bubbling. She could do this. "Let us go," she shouted, gripping Jack's arm for a second before steering towards the nearest house. Together, they sprinted through the rain, their hearts pounding. As they approached the first house, a woman appeared at the door, wide-eyed and trembling. Sarah's voice softened as she called, "Ma'am, you need to leave. There's a fire. We're here to help." Something inside her clicked. Maybe she wasn't just a mother stuck in her own problems. Maybe she could be a part of something bigger, something good. But just as hope sparked, a deafening crash sounded in the distance, twisting her stomach into knots. "We need to hurry," she yelled to Jack, glancing back towards the growing flames which were clawing their way up to the sky. Unsure of what would come next, she felt the rush of purpose swell within her. What if this was about more than just a fire? What if it was also about learning to embrace her own strength? As they helped guide more frightened neighbors to safety, she couldn't shake the feeling that this night would change everything for her and Noah. She could sense it in the air, a prelude to transformation. What would this night reveal about her courage, her dreams, and the strength she never knew she had? Suddenly, Jack's voice broke through her thoughts. "Sarah, look." Her heart raced again as she turned, catching sight of the flames leaping higher. But in the chaos, she also spotted someone in the crowd, someone familiar. Was it really him? Could this night lead to unexpected alliances? The rain kept falling, each drop blending into the urgency swirling around them. Sarah's eyes strained to focus through the chaos, but her heart thundered in her chest as she recognized a figure in the crowd. "Is that Ethan?" The name slipped from her lips, barely a whisper. Many moons had passed since they'd last spoken, and the sight of him now felt surreal. He was once a part of her life before responsibilities had swept her away into the tides of motherhood. Jack glanced back, concern etched on his face. "Who?" "Ethan. My old friend," she managed, trying to suppress memories that clouded her focus. The good times and bad felt both distant and poignantly close, but the flames roared louder, demanding her attention. "Can you call him over?" Jack shouted above the noise, urgency lacing his words. But Sarah was frozen on the spot, her limbs weighted down by uncertainty. She hadn't prepared to face him today of all days. With chaos unfolding in every direction, she wasn't even sure if she should reach out. "Sarah. We need to go." Jack tugged on her arm, breaking her momentary paralysis. Feeling the gravity of the situation, she shook her head. "No, we can't leave yet." "I can't just," but before she could finish, Ethan surged through the crowd, moving with an intensity that felt almost like he was gliding. There was a shield of calmness around him, but his eyes held the same distress that gripped everyone else. "Are you okay?" Ethan's voice was deep and resonant, cutting through the noise as he came closer. "Yeah, we're helping," she managed, her heart crashing against her ribcage. The momentary connection was like a jolt of electricity, a brief reminder of companionship amidst the conflict. "Helping?" he echoed, glancing at Jack and then the chaos around them. There's a family trapped inside. I saw the flames from my place. I was trying to figure it all out. The urgency in his voice was palpable, invoking the shared urgency of the night. Then let's go. Jack interjected. We can get to them. Sarah, we need to move. Ethan nodded, his face lighting up with a fierce determination. I'll handle the front, he said, drawing all eyes to him. It felt surreal that this was the same man she'd laughed with, shared stories, and dreams she had thought long buried. Follow my lead. He shouted, his commanding voice rallying Sarah and Jack. The trio raced towards the burning house, their feet splashing through puddles, hearts racing with a mix of fear and purpose. Sarah felt a magnetic pull towards Ethan as their paths converged, the flirtation of possibility igniting something deep within her. Yet she couldn't forget the task at hand. As they neared the house, flames flickering ominously, they heard the shrill cry of a child, desperate and frightened. Fear twisted inside Sarah, a seed of dread germinating within her chest. We have to get in. Hold on. Ethan called out, assessing the situation. Jack, get ready to break a window. I'll guide the child toward safety. Got it. Jack replied, readying himself. Let us do this, Sarah whispered to herself, shaking off the nerves. Suddenly every sound fell silent, replaced by the rhythmic pounding of her pulse in her ears. It felt like everything hinged on this moment, like the weight of the world was resting on her shoulders. In this tense silence, she reached out for Ethan's hand, a brief contact sparking warmth amid the urgency. We can do this. But the crackling flame spoke of danger and urgency that pressed against them, the weight of uncertainty thickening the air around her. What if they didn't get there in time? As they prepared to break through, her heart split open with a question: could this night really change everything? Ethan turned to her, as if sensing her doubts. Stay close. And then, everything shifted. The glass shattered, sending fragments flying into the darkness, echoing through the rain-soaked night as they plunged headfirst into the blaze. What awaited them inside could change everything or haunt them forever. The air inside the house was like a living thing, thick with smoke and heat. Sarah's instinct kicked in as she felt Ethan's grip on her hand tighten. They pushed forward, adrenaline burning away their fear. Cries of the child echoed fiercely, shrill and desperate, pushing them into action. Stay low. Ethan yelled, leading them through the darkened corridor. Wind-whipped flames licked the walls, illuminating their path with an eerie glow. Sarah's heart raced, knowing time was slipping away. She could almost feel the heat on her face, wrapping around her like a warning. Her lungs burned as she coughed, trying to clear her throat of the acrid smoke. In moments like these, clarity hit like a freight train, and she understood how fragile life could be. Each step brought them closer to that terrified voice. Keep moving. Jack shouted, breaking through the haze as they reached a partially closed door. With a swift kick, he sent it crashing open. Hello? Ethan called out, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. It cut through the chaos, a beacon of hope. A small voice quivered from within the room. Help. I'm scared. In that instant, everything else faded away. Sarah's body moved without thought, propelled by a mix of instinct and resolve. She darted across the threshold. The room was a furnace, the flames dancing nearer, but she could see the child, a little girl, no older than 5, huddled against the wall, tears streaming down her soot-covered face. Sweetheart, it's okay. We're here to help you. Sarah reached out, her voice a soothing balm against the raging chaos. She crouched low, keeping her voice gentle, yet firm, desperate to break through the fear that paralyzed the child. But just as the girl reached her, a loud crack interrupted the moment. The ceiling groaned ominously, creaking like an old ship in a storm. Sarah. We need to hurry. Ethan's voice traveled over the roar of the flames. She scooped the little girl into her arms, feeling the weight of innocence and fear combined. "Hold on tight," Sarah urged, turning on her heels and feeling the heat coalesce around them. With the child secure, Jack led the chant of urgency. "Let us go. This way." From behind them, the crackle of the flames sounded darker, growing more ominous. Sarah's heart raced as they navigated back through the corridor, each step amplifying the stakes. For a fleeting second, Sarah glanced back, her heart pulling even tighter at the sight of the fire consuming the space they had just left. Time felt distorted. The world outside was still swirling in torrential rain, while inside, the fire raged hotter. Ethan never let go of her hand. "You're doing great. Just a little further." His voice surged with confidence, infusing her with strength. With one final push, they burst through the entrance. The fresh air hit them like a tidal wave, the rain mingling with smoke, washing away their fears for just a moment. Sarah breathed deeply, relief flooding through her as she stumbled out onto the soaked ground. The child clung to her as if Sarah were her lifeline, her small frame trembling. Gently, Sarah set her down, kneeling in front of her, brushing soot from her cheeks. "You're safe now. You're okay." But just then, the world felt wrong. A look of dread crossed Jack's face as he pointed back at the house. "Wait. Ethan." Without a second thought, Sarah turned, panic rushing back. "What? What is it?" Ethan's eyes widened with realization. There might be someone else inside. Time hung frozen in the air, the echo of the continuing fire and cries painfully in the background, and Sarah felt a sick twist in her stomach. Could they take that risk again? Her heart raced, a distant tornado of thoughts whirling inside her. What do we do?" Ethan looked at her, determination etched in his expression. "We go back. We can't leave them." A knot of fear and courage formed in Sarah's chest. This was a moment that would define them all. What felt like a simple choice had turned into a haunting dilemma, one that would test their limits, challenge their resolve, and change everything. Forever. As they prepared to step back into the flames, Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her decision as if the choice to save another could alter the course of their lives entirely. What dangers lay ahead within those furious flames? Ethan reached for Sarah's hand, squeezing it tightly as they prepared to re-enter the inferno. The flames flickered ominously behind them, casting long shadows that danced across the drenched ground. Every instinct screamed at them to run, to get out while they still could. Yet, the thought of someone else's life hanging in the balance pulled them back. "Let us go," Jack shouted, breaking through the hesitation. The fire rumbled as if urging them forward. With a shared glance, Sarah and Ethan stepped back into the darkness together. The heat hit like a truck, suffocating and relentless. Gritting her teeth, Sarah forced herself to breathe through her mouth, ignoring the burn in her throat. "Where could they be?" Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. "There." Sarah pointed to a door on the far side that had been flung open, a trail of black smoke swirling out like a ghostly finger beckoning them in. They moved quickly, dodging falling debris and flames that curled hungrily at their coats. The little girl was still in Sarah's arms, her tiny fingers gripping tightly around her neck, a silent plea for safety. "Stay close to me," Sarah urged, her heart racing faster than her feet could carry her. Suddenly, a loud crack resounded from above, like thunder striking the ground. The ceiling shuddered, and Sarah gasped, instinctively ducking to shield the girl. "We have to hurry." Ethan nodded, leading the way as they plunged deeper into the smoke and chaos. The oppressive heat bore down on them, each step heavier than the last. They reached the door, bursting through to a sunken living area that looked like it had survived an explosion. "Hello," Jack called out, his voice fighting against the crackle of the flames. "Is anyone here?" Silence fell, thick and unnerving. Then, from behind a shattered coffee table, a faint whimper broke through the void. Over here. Sarah cried out, her heart igniting with hope. They rushed toward the sound, and what they found made Sarah's stomach drop. A boy, no older than 7, huddled beneath the table, eyes wide with terror. His clothes were singed at the edges, and soot smeared his small face. "Mommy!" he cried, tears streaming down his cheeks. Time froze again. A sudden surge of panic washed over Sarah. "We need to find his mother." Ethan nodded, his expression fierce. "We'll get him out." Where would she be? Jack scanned the room, urgency pinching his features. She might not know where to go. Let us call out. "Mommy! Where are you?" Sarah yelled, her voice fighting against the roar of the fire. "Please." The boy whimpered, clinging to Sarah's leg. She could feel the little girl behind her still trembling, pulling tighter around her body. More crackling erupted from above, dust raining down like tiny stars. Sarah's instincts screamed again. They didn't have much time. "We need to split up," Ethan decided, raising his voice above the flames. "I'll take him, and you two look for his mom. Stay close. I don't want to leave you." Sarah protested, but urgency wore her down. The boy's sobs echoed in her ears, urging her forward. "Go. Trust me." Ethan's eyes met hers, fierce and determined. With a heavy heart, Sarah nodded, pressing the little girl closer to herself. "We'll be back." They turned back into the smoke, running further into the house. The flames gained strength around them, demanding attention, while the desperate cries of the boy filled the air. Each step multiplied her fear as the urgency built within. Each moment counted. What if they didn't find her? What if they were too late? Just then, a loud crash sounded behind them, causing Sarah to flinch. Behind the sound, they suddenly spotted a form through the haze, a woman, slumped against the far wall, the last embers of her strength flickering out. "Mom!" The boy screamed, racing away from Sarah. "No!" Sarah shouted, lunging forward. But the flames roared back, cutting off her path. Caught in the suffocating heat, Sarah's heart raced. Would they make it out this time? In that instant, everything hung in the balance, and as the flames swallowed the remnants of the room, entwined with the cries that haunted them, she knew the next moment would change everything. What would she sacrifice to save them all? In that life-or-death moment, Sarah felt time stretch like an elastic band. Everything around her blurred, the flames licking hungrily at the air. She couldn't let him go. She couldn't let the boy lose his mother. "Ethan!" she called, panic igniting her voice. "We have to get her." His eyes locked onto hers, an understanding flaring between them. Without a second thought, they surged through the inferno together, searching for the boy's mother. Each step felt heavier, the heat wrapping around them like a vice. It was a battle against time, against the rising smoke and the snapping of burning wood. "Stay low!" Ethan shouted as they entered the next room, the walls already buckling under the weight of their fiery foe. The frantic cries of the boy echoing in her head pushed Sarah forward. She could feel the walls closing in, knew they had to move fast. "This way!" she shouted, pointing toward a faint figure slumped against the wall. The woman was pale, her eyes darting in confusion, lost in the chaos of ash and fire. "Mom!" the boy shrieked, his tiny voice slicing through the smoke. "Help me!" the woman gasped, her breath shallow, a shadow of hope flickering within her gaze. Without hesitation, Ethan reached for the child, who came charging into his arms. "Stay with me," he urged, as Sarah bent down to grab the woman who had surrendered to despair. "Come on, we need to go. Right now," Sarah cried, urgency propelling her. Wrapping an arm around the woman's waist, she felt the frailness of her form, like holding on to hope itself. As they worked together, moving in sync, another crash echoed behind them, a reminder that time was not on their side. The flames roared, threatening to claim everything. Each second stretched dangerously, wrapping them in panic and the urgency of survival. "Go. I'll carry her," Ethan said, planting his feet firmly. "You get the kids outside." "No. We can't leave you." Sarah's voice wavered, the thought of separating tearing at her heart. "Trust me. I'll be right behind you." His determination sent waves of strength through her. With one last look, Sarah nodded, feeling a bond forged in danger woven between them. Ethan backed away, the woman barely standing, her breath coming in shallow bursts. Quickly, Sarah ushered the boy and the other little girl out through the door, desperate to reach fresh air. "Step carefully. We can do this," she encouraged, her voice steady, though her own fears clawed at her mind wantonly. The heaviness in her chest threatened to swallow her whole as they stepped into the blinding light of the storm outside. Noah clutched her tight. "Mommy, I was scared." "I know, sweetheart," she whispered, hugging him close. "You did so well." The rain mingled with her tears as she glanced back. They couldn't wait. They had to go back. "Where's Ethan?" The children's small voices broke through the weight of her anxiety. "Just a minute, kids, just a minute," Sarah urged, eyes darting back toward the ominous glow of the fire while a primal instinct shouted for her to run. "Mommy!" the boy cried, pulling at her sleeve. "My mom!" Sarah soothed, holding both children close, feeling their trembling bodies clinging to her. Suddenly, through the growing thick dark smoke, a figure emerged. It was Ethan, a fleeting silhouette, moving cautiously against the chaotic background. Her heart leapt as he sprinted toward them, the flame's fury roaring behind him. "I got her. Come on." He reached the doorway just as an explosion of fire blasted behind him, petals of flame erupting as wall panels buckled. Sarah's stomach twisted, terror threatening to swallow her whole as she rushed to reach Ethan and the survivors inside. They clasped hands, and for a brief moment, everything fell away save for the intensity of the connection bonded by bravery. Jack was watching from the sidelines, shouting over the roar of chaos, "Get them out. Now!" With primal courage surging, Sarah grabbed the boy's hand, pulling him and Noah forward. "Run!" she shouted, a war cry full of unwavering strength. They all barreled through the doorway, into the open air slick with improbable rain, still falling as if it might wash away their past fears, doubts, and all that weighed them down. Together, they stumbled to the side of the road, breathless. The warmth of community rushed over them, sheltering like the light after a dark storm. Relief flooded through Sarah as fire crews rushed towards them, ready to pull the burning embers from collapsing buildings. "Mom!" the little boy cried, racing toward the woman Ethan had saved. Tears streaming, Sarah turned to watch as Ethan hugged the boy's mother, lifting her gently and pulling her from danger. It was over, they had made it. In that moment, an unexpected warmth settled in Sarah's heart, flooding her with the realization of connection, of trust. She felt the chains of doubt begin to shatter as Jack stepped closer, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it," he whispered, the awe ringing clear. "Together," she replied, the word tasting of victory on her tongue, echoing a powerful transformation. The rain lightened, the storm beginning to calm as sirens chimed softly. Sarah looked back at Ethan, who caught her gaze, a mischievous smirk breaking through amidst the ash and chaos. A bond had forged from fire and heart. She had opened herself to receiving help, to embracing change, and it felt monumental. What comes next? She wondered aloud, feeling the gentle recognition of possibility radiate through her. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, the warmth extending comfort to her weary soul. "Let us take it step by step." Together, they stood in the rain, rejuvenated by the night's journey. "May I come with you?" Ethan stepped forward, eyes glimmering with anticipation. I'd like to be part of that, wherever it leads. The light of hope flickered brightly within Sarah, illuminating not just for herself, but for her children too. Yes, she answered firmly, resolve threaded in her voice. Let us see where this new journey takes us. The night may have begun filled with struggles, but Sarah had transformed darkness into light, fear into courage, and grief into resilience. They would rebuild together. This moment marked the dawning of a new path, and every soul standing there could feel it the opportunity to redefine their futures. Underneath the clouds, amidst the rain and ashes, a new beginning had emerged. Now is your time. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with hope, courage, and transformations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and to support this content that inspires. Your voice matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. Remember, only true fans understand the power of supporting the channel through these actions.